Greetings, blessings, salutations, and love. Once again, welcome back to Chats with Jack. I am Jack Talcott. I just realized I forgot to check the volume again. Hopefully the volume is okay on the audio. Holy cows, that is loud. I'm gonna try that. Hopefully that's a little easier. Hey, I want to welcome each of you to today. I'm going to take a slower start, I think. And thank you. You tell me. Welcome. Hopefully, you're at a point in your day where you can just take a breath and relax, share some time here, and maybe we can share some, I don't know, get that fire going a little bit again. Good evening to everyone. Good afternoon, those who are swinging in. This is something there's an interesting energy about today. Talcott Tuesday is what I've been trying to tell myself, admittedly. I felt very, very peaceful. I have felt within me very peaceful. You know, there's a soft rain outside, cloudy, overcast in the fall weather. That could be part of it, part of my experience. But hey, you know what? My intentions as I start is to be more engaging with the chat. So God bless the ads. I've been giving that a little bit of thought as well. I'm trying to figure out my direction. What is Jack supposed to do? And now that there's a few more people here, I'll kind of let me start by addressing yesterday's stream. In reflection, I was not proud. I am not proud of the reactive nature that I shared, the frustrations. It's not who I hope to present. And that was what was offered back to me. Miss, what the name was, Gremlin something, was very accurate. I claim to be a man of faith. And yet what I'm presenting can create contradictions, obviously. And I don't mean to present contradictions, not at all. But I've not achieved perfection. That's certainly clear. And so where I went with that is maybe these panels might not be my forte. Okay. And so for those of you who have been here, bear with a little bit. Hopefully you're receiving some encouragement and inspiration. I don't want to share disappointment or frustration by any stretch of the imagination. I hope to share the peace that I feel, because there's such a profound peace that's available just in the mere beingness with existence, okay? Which will bring us to the topic, that which is. Define that which is. It's all inclusive, and yet, obviously not a clear representative. Or is it? See, all that is what we perceive, what we're aware of, what we have experienced, what we remember. So that which is for each of us is a little bit different, right? That which is including the earth, the plants, animals, commerce, society, whatever. It's all included in that which is. That which is your unique experience. So what do you think about that which is? your unique experience. And it includes everything, all the memories, all the imaginations, all the rumors, all the evidence, all the pains, all the pleasures, all the love and light, all the confusion. It's all one thing. It's that which is. So, how do you feel about that which is right now? Because right now, that's the only time that we can know for sure, for certain, that right now I can perceive and examine, but, you know, let me not get into the mystery of time is included in this. We are experiencing, each of us uniquely, in our own path of life and consciousness, spiritual development, whatever the perspective you want to see. Each of us right now, we are just our own experience of that which is. And within us, we have the will to imagine, the will and the ability to imagine, to dream, to feel. All of that is available right now. So if you can find comfort in that which is you right now, and feel the peace, feel the strength at the same time. It's like a grounding strength, just feeling the presence of being. I hope this is making sense. In this path that I've been living the past few years, I've been learning how to better humble myself. That was the message that I received yesterday in a few different places. I've been criticized quite clearly about how ungodly I present myself. And, I've been trying. I've been trying to be more loving, more kind. I've been trying to be, you know what? I've been learning how, and maybe this is the problem. I have been trying. And what I keep learning in different ways is the logic behind surrender. Because surrendering to that which is, right? That which is your memories, that which is your current situation, your health, your finances, whatever. If you can find acceptance with that which is, and peace in the knowing of that which is, peace in the knowing of what is not known, and if you can find that peace in that which is, you can find gratitude as well. And with the gratitude of that which is, your memories, all the challenges and all the blessings, when you can find gratitude for that which is, you can feel more confidence. And so life really is, from what I've found for myself and what I've learned from others, life, this experience we're sharing through time together, all of us as one point in history, it's a mind game, man. You got to figure your mind out. And so what I've been trying to figure out is how to surrender my mind, my will, to the will of God. What might the will of God want? How might I know What signs have I seen? What are the information? What is the facts that I know? See, because it's through the facts, through the actual information, that's where the path of discernment goes. But through the information, that's where we learn the truth. And it's through the truth that we find the explanations, we find the understandings of that which is. It's through asking questions, seeking answers, finding the knowing. And then the game can be, how do you share what you've learned? How does the world benefit from your unique experience? This is honestly the question I've been asking myself. I mean, if we all live, right? And I've been wanting for a long time for my life to make a difference. And I know I have in many, many ways. Good, more good than bad. I trust. I trust I've influenced the world around me in more good ways than bad. I hope. But hey, you know what? Let me come back to you guys. I have been ignoring much. The ads. I know the ads. Welcome. What's up, Cynthia? I just saw your recent production. I love the humor of people. People are so oh my God. What is this? People aren't willing to help you in the way you want them to. People will do as they want. I receive what people want to offer, and I offer what I guess I want to offer. So we all get to do what we want. That's the thing. And here, getting angry with people for making mistakes does not teach them to not make mistakes. It just teaches them to hide them. Domenic, well observed. And that's something I'm learning too. I want to take out my depression in the form of condensation or outright anger about something trivial that I will be mocked for. This is what I've been learning how to do, but with caution. Okay. Give ourselves grace. Giving ourselves grace can lead us to making excuses. And frankly, this is what I think may have been happening with me. As I feel, I've clearly not presented myself clearly in the way that I'd hoped to come across. That has not happened. So, in my mind, with my memories and my knowledge of my awareness, after what I remember saying, it's like the frustration comes out. So it is my own issue. Oh, and so that was the thing, was I felt my frustration was justified. So therefore I allowed myself to express it. I can do better. That was the thing. I don't want there's a fine line between our grace and our excuses, our enabling of bad behavior. Hey, Jesse, bless you. You have been a good influence for me. That's for sure, man. Hey, producer Moose, respect to you too, man. I think I'm going to go ahead and open this for those who do want to join. My goal is to be gracious and respectful. Oh, where I was going with my personal experience over the past several years is learning how to surrender. I've been learning how to increase my patience, increase my own trust in the unknown, in the possibilities, and to have faith. For our faith to grow, we must surrender by choice, will, by acceptance. Honestly, we just got to stop fighting. You got to surrender your ego, okay, and recognize how little control you might actually have over the world, over that which is. That which is very powerful. It includes all the people, the forces of nature, the physics, chemistry, temperatures, all these things. That which is very powerful. And so, individually in our lives and these flesh suits of experience, it's really easy to feel separated from that which is, right? Because the society teaches us every man for himself. You got to sacrifice for survival and blah, blah, blah. Um, everyone's in it for themselves. That's the mindset of the controlled. I think that might be true. Everyone's in it for themselves. Is that free people or is that controlled people? A little of both. Who knows? Shouldn't have taken off down that path. But see, please, my distraction there was I do pay attention to the words I speak. I try to watch and filter myself for accuracy. I don't want to exaggerate. I don't want to distort what is true, honestly. Because brothers and sisters, what I've found peace within, honestly, is my imagination and the possibilities of what might actually be true. Because what might be true, it could be that, while there's a lot of wars heating up, and there's news of this at least, one wonders who's the controlling force and who's the oppositional force. But anyway, there's a lot of confusion and real negative, distorted, hate-filled energies that are going. But what if it could be true that this is the time for the change? That we are the ones embodied here on Earth in this spiritual cosmic adventure our Creator is revealing. What if we are here to bring peace to the world? And it starts right here and now, today, with each of us, within each of us, through the acceptance of that which is, perhaps with humility, gratitude, respect. And please allow me to offer that now. Welcome, Nachiketa. Good to see you again, brother.
Thanks for having me on. How's it going, Jack? How are you feeling today?
I am feeling more at peace today and more humble. That's probably the truth. I feel more humble today. And
More humble than usual?
more humble than yesterday. Yesterday, I allowed my arrogance and insecurities to show. So today, hopefully, I got it in check. That's the intention, anyway.
And is it good to be more humble, do you think? It's just
Humility.
a question.
I think. I think in my experience, yes. I believe humility, well, it's a fine line that I don't know the answer to. But where I'm at, I've tried fighting for peace, I've tried negotiating. And so now it's time for greater surrender, greater humility. Where I'm here, I'm gonna please unmute, or can we touch your volume down just a touch, please?
Yeah,
You're coming in
sure.
a little hot. But what I recognized, the challenge I am facing is, and I don't know how to overcome. It appears that people have not found trust to share with me. I mean, I don't know how else to say it, but
How do you develop trust, Jack? How's my volume?
it's
Should I?
no, it's a little better. Thank you. I appreciate that.
No problem.
How does one establish trust? I believe through familiarity. That is one of the best ways to know trust, or to have trust, because familiarity brings understanding. We understand each other.
Sometimes familiarity brings contempt. Have you ever
That
heard
is
this?
true. Yes, I have heard that, and that is true as well. One of the paradoxes of people. We want consistency and desire change, right? We want safety and yet we seek adventure.
Do you
So
trust yourself, Jack?
I I do actually, brother, that is what I've learned, okay, from others and myself. When I experience something, I'm seeing it in others, even if it's indirectly. I try to pay attention. Why did I see that? Why did I experience that? Am I doing this? And so, brother, that is what I've been trying to figure out. Am I demonstrating a lack of trust in myself? And I can say yes in, well, in the fact I haven't completely kicked this stupid nicotine yet. But beyond that, I fully trust myself to handle whatever comes up.
I just see that, at least for myself, that we often get ourselves like involved or entangled in various situations, and there are times when it seems not what people have expected. Interactions, relationships, or circumstances. It could be many things, right? And uh, we might reevaluate, what is it that we were wanting initially, when we got involved, right? And that just goes with everything in general. What's up, Dominic?
Hi, Nash. Hi, Jack. Hi, Jack.
Welcome, brother. Um,
Did you understand what I said, or did I make sense?
yes. The reflecting on the relationships, as is that's what you were talking about, right?
Yeah, I mean, it could be relationships or circumstances, situations, and sometimes, we find ourselves not feeling good about whatever, and then because of the negative experience, let's just say, it, forces us to reflect whether or not, you know, uh, that was the right course of action or the right direction. I just, for me, I almost find uh, like things are unavoidable. here on the internet, like on the metaverse, people collide with each other, right? And they have different points of views. People lay it out, and they're going to come to a disagreement. And either one has to come to some resolution with that, or they have to just kind of uh, be okay with the impasse that nobody's going to agree, and then everybody's going to have to go in their own direction, right?
Those are, I mean, yeah, those are true factors. There's a lot of variables to that, though, as far as personally, I think there's far too many people who make the excuse of let's just agree to disagree without bothering to find out they were wrong. And it's like we allow each other to go on with confusion rather than taking the time to try and help each other understand. And what I've experienced here online, to be honest, it's a bunch of unhealthy, egotistical gossiping, complaining, and blaming. It's like,
so how do you get away from it?
Well, that is the $1 million question I was asking myself, brother. Because after my frustration yesterday, obviously my attempts at communicating have failed. I'm not being received as intended. And so the disconnect is there somewhere. And until I figure it out, me having panels where I'm getting triggered, well, that's obviously not helpful for the message of live without fear. It's not helpful for my purpose of trying to say I'm a man of peace. So how do I distance myself from that? That was a question. I spent quite a bit of time today debating, do I drop the link today or not? Do I start moving away from these open panels? And I know by doing so, subscribers may drop off. People may tune in specifically for the panel part of the conversations. But
I'm just here to ask you some questions. I mean, if you feel uncomfortable or if the conversation feels a little bit, I don't know, stale, I'm more than happy to move on with other topics.
No, brother, I appreciate that. Today has been an interesting day. I mean, honestly, today while I felt a different energy of peace within, I got myself going. And I actually thought, again, I went over to Paul's. I tuned into Paul with the intention of, seeing what we could do. See if we could communicate today. Holy crap, dude. First, he starts out by taking the past actions and totally twisting them around, that I'm just trying to gain viewers off of him and blah, 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 and all this crap. So obviously, because I chose to restream him the other day, I thought it was a gesture of support, right? But he wants to twist it around to make me look bad. So I'll never I have no intentions of restreaming him again at this point. But so then I clicked the link and joined the panel, and he just proceeded to he continued to mute me, toss me in the back, put me on the main screen, and just went on and on with his tantrum and insults. And it's like, holy cows. This dude.
Was it the first time you experiencing something like this?
No, but it's absolutely irrational and it's illogical. And so here's the other part. That nice, well, she's a beautiful looking lady, very nice, apparently, Lady Brielle. I saw she left in the comments yesterday that nobody can help you, Jack. And then she joined the panel to tell me nobody can help you, Jack. As Snafu was bad mouthing me, and then Paul bad mouthed me. So the hilarity is all of these people don't care that they're wrong. See, and it saddens my heart because I know that there are real wars going on with real people who are really dying. And I think we have greater enemies than this bullshit egoic nonsense that seems to be, the talk of the town. Talking about Paul there.
Well, I guess there's some truth and some inaccuracies in my mind when maybe Brielle says that nobody can help you. Like at the end of the day, we have to do the work, every single one of us, but other people can be helpful in, trying to put things into perspective as well. So I don't know. I can see a little bit of going both ways. Like I can tell you what I think that you should do, but you don't have to do it. Or you can do it and give it a try and see if it is going to be beneficial or not, right? But at the end of the day, you're going to have to make the decision yourself, what is best for you.
Yeah, that's the thing is that what I think is best is for people to work together.
Yeah, but if they don't want to work with you, then you can't make people work together, obviously, right?
I know. And so that's my dilemma. Where do I find the people who are willing to work with me, who are willing to accept me for who I am, rather than insisting I give up my $300 a month from the VA and bullshit stuff like that? That's what everybody's the lead.
In order for you to accept other people to accept you for who you are, wouldn't you also have to extend the same towards others, like other people? Like you also would have to accept other people for the way they are as well, or there should be some kind of a middle ground there.
Well, what if the distinction is their behavior is unhealthy and it actually prevents? Their behavior actually prevents because, well, it doesn't matter. Everyone's on their own journey, and I'm sure everyone's got their own relationship challenges. Those relationship challenges, they can get into our heads. They can screw up our time, make us feel all resentful and angry and all this crap. But here's one of the thoughts I was thinking earlier regarding that which is and finding peace with that which is, which includes unreasonable people, illogical people, even harmful people. So what we can do to find peace in ourselves, it's up to each of us to push ourselves mentally, emotionally, spiritually, push your mind and consciousness beyond the confusion, beyond the disagreement, beyond the judgment. Push yourself beyond the judgment into a state of detachment. You have an awareness of the being, of the situation, of all that, of that which is. So you have an awareness of that which is. But if you allow yourself to detach from it, look beyond the judgment and find the information, the relevant information in the being, in what you remember, in the facts that you know of. Find the relevant information and see if you can see it from a different perspective.
Yeah, I agree with that. Do you believe that you practice what you preach? Do you also exercise what you have just spoken?
Absolutely, brother. That's it. I've discussed it before, it's what I call experiential alchemy. It's part of the process is that detachment, acceptance, understanding, changing the perspective, refining, re-evaluating the information is often what it takes for us to understand things better. We come to conclusions based on pieces of information that we know, but it's up to each of us to determine what is accurate. Do I apply that, brother? You better believe it. I mean, seriously, my world, okay, regardless of the rest of the world, the crap happening in politics and governments and the society, my world crumbled. And yet I found joy. I found peace. I found strength. I found love with no others. I didn't think that was possible. So I'm glad you asked. I do practice what I preach, and I do try to find the silver lining in all things. Doesn't mean I ignore the clouds or the ugliness. But honestly, brothers and sisters, each of us, if we can do these things for ourselves and with each other, that was something I thought about today. I challenge you guys who are listening, if you can have faith in a brighter future, grab someone near you, someone who's in your vicinity, in your time, in your connection, someone who cares about you and who you care about, and team up. Team up to brainstorm ideas and to encourage each other, to help each other overcome limitations and past problems. Help each other make connections and figure out whatever you can do. I think if more people start joining together with the purpose of helping make the world a better place for themselves and each other, I'm pretty sure we'll get enough people. There are enough people. There's already thousands of organizations and thousands of groups of people coming together around this world in order to deal with the oppression and the famine and the lack and the suffering of many others. So I think this is the time, man. There is a beautiful unrest that's happening. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, well, I mean, I these are all very good on paper, and again, I think we kind of boil things down to the fundamental issues, which is like the question about like how to develop trust, right? And I think you see it as well. I mean, okay, maybe I agree with you. There are a lot of these organizations and people who have good intentions of wanting to come together, but people not really trusting one another is a kind of an issue. That's one of the factors of people not really being able to work with one another. And as far as I see it, at least from my perspective, sometimes I don't agree with like the vision. I'm sure the intention is all there, but the vision might be a little bit different, and the planning, the way we go about doing things, and I do think that the way we communicate with one another is a foundational aspect of like how we can quote unquote come together. And if we lack in our ability to communicate with one another, I don't really see how we can really develop trust with one another either.
One of the ways to improve communication is when we stop overcoming the language, when we stop arguing over words, because the words represent things, and you're right. It's actually communication, that the breakdown of communication between people, that creates a lot of the disagreements, the confusion, and then the next thing you know, you got enemies and wars. And I've been studying communication. Believe it or not, I mean, I guess I am practicing. Let me say that. I am practicing improving and developing my skills of communication. I've when I learned of I can't even remember his name. You familiar? Nonviolent communication. You familiar with that?
Well, explain it to me, please.
It's the process was identified by I think his name's Dr. Rosenberg. It's a method of communication using for the purpose of exercising nonviolence, even through words, to have difficult conversations to avoid the triggers. Admittedly, I learned from it in value. I'm no expert in any sense, but it inspired me to believe that there are ways, there are methods, proven methods of negotiations that work. I've had successes in my past with negotiations with people in authority or superior position. And based upon presentations of facts, I know that minds can be changed. So what we have, though, is a world that doesn't trust. And without trust, they're real skeptical. People have developed skepticism and distrust from the things, from people. But what I've learned is each of us, we're not things. We are like data points. Now, how clearly the information comes out of the data point varies, but each of us, we're not an authority or above or below one another. Welcome, brother. Good to see you again.
Yeah, it's nice to be here.
So, Jack, let me just ask you, what do you feel that you need to improve on within yourself for you to be more effective in your ability to communicate with people?
Thank you. Based on the feedback I received yesterday and the evidence I saw myself, I need to continue trying to practice what I preach. And what I preach is the way of the Christ. Okay? Honest, fearless, truthful, loving, kind, compassionate, forgiving, generous, and above all, grace. I've lacked grace and I've lacked understanding. So I'm hoping to improve.
Well, and these are in my mind, like we talked about humbling as an example. Like you feel humble today, and like life and circumstances. It's not that you want to be humbled. It's not necessarily something that we think about. I mean, it kind of happens by itself, right?
Yes and no. I think it actually takes the will and the courage to humble oneself, to say, okay, I surrender. I no longer defend. I no longer attack. I'm at peace. And the ability changes, of course, moment by moment, based on what the situation, what the world brings forth. But we are each at the mercy of the world, and it's when we think we're different, when we think we're above what we're experiencing, that's when our ego comes in.
Is the ego a bad thing? Like, is the goal to completely get rid of ego? Because I've heard like people who are overtly humble, and they are very much concerned about like not being too prideful. It's actually their ego being hung upside down. It's the ego is still there, and that's where the quote unquote aggressiveness comes in, and the passive aggressiveness comes in. And where's the balance point?
I
Well,
love
exactly.
that.
There's a balance to it. Like you want to be humble. Like if, well, I don't know. I want to start naming names, but you already know who. Where his ego's so big, he's always 100% right to the point where he's never wrong. And there's a balance to it where you're humble, but you still have the ego. And I learned that in my early 20s. I'm 30, and this dude is like in his mid 30s and still acting like a high school or a college kid. Where I've had friends just like him, and I was like that too until I separated myself from them. It's just not. It is nothing like nothing good comes out of it when you act that way, and you can never learn anything. If you already know everything, you can't learn anything else because you already know everything, like he does. So there's a balance.
It is a balance, and it can be even a battle. Welcome, J Hub. The the question of the ego, though, in the way I use it, the way I view our ego, it is like the limiting factor. It's the governor. It's the limiter of our divine potential, of the will of the infinite. And what governs us is our ignorance, our lack of awareness, our lack of understanding. But those lacks, they're all imagined. Our ego is actually imagined, partly by us, partly by others. Does that make
What do you
sense?
mean by that? I'm not entirely sure what that means. Like, what do you mean by our egos are imagined? Can you elaborate a little bit more?
Well, I've come to accept the description, okay, that we are within the mind of God. There's a infinite creator that's beyond space and time that created space for time and love to form into the energies and love to form through the energies and vibrations. It becomes form, and here we are. We are physical beings. We are physical beings of consciousness who have manifested into form in this infinite field of energy and information. I hope that makes sense.
Well, I don't want to dominate the conversation because there are other people in the panel, but I'll just say this. According to some Vedic scriptures, they talk about how the ego is basically baked into the cake of existence here. Like as soon as that you're born, like you have different attributes as a quote unquote a human being. Your senses and your mind, your intellect, your samskaras, your previous impressions are there, but also the ego. And ego, there's varying layers to it because we have egos with the body, right? Like like the body needs to survive, and if you're in a very I don't know, dangerous situation, you have that fight or flight type of response, right? It is very much entangled with your amygdala, your central part of your brain, the brain stem. But there's ego of the mind as well, people maybe overly intellectualize. Some people may accuse us of, highbrowing our conversations, right? So there are various different manifestations, quote unquote, of the ego. I don't necessarily believe ego is bad per se. Everybody, I have never met anybody who has no ego, at least in my experience.
Okay, but what about those who, place their ego as supreme, the egotists?
That's their problem, not mine.
You've never had a problem with someone who is egoic and selfish, cruel by patterns?
Sure.
have.
Yeah. Yeah. No. I think we all have had issues with, let's just say somebody who is a bully. You know, they're large, or I don't know, and then they just want to push you around. So one has to come to a conclusion about either you avoid being near that individual or having any kind of interaction, or you're going to have to give this individual a strong lesson. If nothing else is um, you know, possible. You have to look at your options. What are your options, right?
That's amen.
But in the metaverse, you don't have to. No one has to interact with anybody. It's all by volunteerism here. I don't have to be here. As an example, nobody has to be anywhere. We can always go.
Amen. J-Hub, welcome.
Yeah, I'm gonna do my normal thing and ride the fence on this one. Like I understand what Nachiketa, is that his name? Did I say it right?
You can just call me Notch. It's fine.
I remember the last time they said don't call you Nacho or something, so I was trying to
Trying to be
well, just don't be disrespectful. I think that's the main point I was trying to address.
Yeah, that's why I was just trying to figure it out. But yeah, Notch. So like to his point, definitely I've kind of like been where you're at, Jack, where you kind of say, you see people with huge egos, right? And then you start to think that the ego is the problem. But it's kind of like what we said, I think the last time I was on your panel, we kind of talked about like the yin and the yang, right? It's kind of like the conscious and the subconscious. It's like all a part of one another. You can't get rid of it, And it's like have you seen Nutty Professor, the movie Nutty Professor?
I think so.
So in Nutty Professor, he has a part of himself which he calls Buddy Love. And it's basically like his ego. And he tries to like get rid of it and remove it from his personality, right? But it ends up, causing a whole lot of other problems because it's not even really possible. You get what I'm saying? So if you've seen the movie, you'll understand what I'm saying. But like to your point, Jack, is you can't really get rid of it. It's like I understand what you're saying. Like people with huge egos, it's like
I'm not suggesting that at all.
I feel like just let me say this. I feel like it's more of it's like a balance. It's out of balance. You know what I'm saying? But it still has to be there. You can't get rid of it. It's always a part of you. That's kind of our life purpose, to kind of get that in balance, with our subconscious and, acknowledging our shadow selves and stuff like that. So that's just a journey that we're on.
Yeah. I've never painted the picture to get rid of the ego, but it's a fine balance of understanding the ego, having control of the ego, or allowing the ego to run its course because that's how it is. The ego is the character, who we are. And we can keep our old characters, but the idea of growth is to develop your character, to develop your skills, to develop your value, to develop your inner and outer worth. But this world has us so focused on, holy crap, it's got everyone misdirected and confused. And then everyone's running around like they know everything. I don't claim to know everything, but I understand what follows logic and reasoning, and what I've read and what I've heard and what I've experienced. It makes sense. The way of the Christ. We're not here to defend the ego and to make excuses to continue to walk the life of a sinner, of someone who's afraid, or someone who just blindly obeys. We're here to lead ourselves to greater, as he said, right? He said, I don't remember his, I need to learn better those words. If someone who is familiar with the Bible, if you would please, if you got any willingness to share time with me, I'd love to strengthen my knowledge in the scripture. And I know, I can do my self-study on my own, but I'd like to spend time with people, honestly. We got off the topic, ego. The ego is accumulated in our worldly experience. The ego is the way of the world. We're not supposed to let the ways of the world control us. We are here to express the divinity that's within, I believe, in greater ways. This is what I believe for myself. Everyone's on their own path, but it makes sense. We all have the same number of hours in a day, right? And we all experience that which is in different ways. So each day we can spend our days resenting and afraid or hateful at that which is. And that which is divinely created. If you include the world and all the people, all the plants, all that stuff, it's all divinely created for us to explore together. I think that's why.
Well, there's no doubt. There's no doubt about that. I mean, like it's all happening for a reason. It's not happening for no reason, right? So there's things to be learned here, with our own journey and with each other. But Einstein's definition of insanity, right? Like doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result.
Amen. To solve a problem, you've got to have a different. What is it? It's another Einstein. You can't solve a problem from the same level of consciousness that started it, or something like that. You got to change your perspective, change your awareness, and that's what I think we're here for. I never had these thoughts, or if I had these thoughts, I never used to entertain them. But brothers and sisters, I think we are here at a very amazing point in human history. The evolution of what has been has brought forth who and where we are today. So, what do we want to do in the future? This is where I was talking about. Team up with someone and figure out the future you want to achieve for yourself, and see if you can figure out how to get there. Pushing the limits of your mind beyond the past fears, beyond the past excuses. And what do you want to experience in this lifetime?
What do you want to experience in this lifetime?
I'd like to experience many, many things, my brother. But I'd love to experience and explore this beautiful, amazing world we live in. But I would love for the world to be in a different state. Rather than conflict, I would love to see a world where humanity found peace with themselves and each other, where we learn how to grow together and help. There's a lot of families there's a lot of people a lot worse off than all of us today. And a lot of people who are a lot better off than us today. And praise God that we get to be. I think the future, honestly, here's where I'm at, and I encourage, try to consider this. follow the logic, right? The memories, they're done. Yesterday, this morning, 20 years ago, 2,000 years ago, those years are done. But if we can detach from the past, not ignoring it, but not allowing the past to control our future, if we can detach from the past and find gratitude for today, for this moment. I got shelter, I got clothing, I got warmth, I've got presumed safety, I've got all I need for today. So now, live in the future. If you can find the future within you that you imagine, you believe in, the future you're willing to die for to achieve, it gives you life, brings forth in within you the feelings of adventure. And then when you start having goals and you see progress, movement towards greater experience, well, the progress towards goals brings fulfillment. Fulfillment, it matters. If you can find ways, recognizing that this game of life is just that, it's a mind trip, man. We're like hallucinating an experience together. We get to choose the energies we bring forth, the energies we carry around, and it changes moment by moment by moment. That's what would, please try to remember that. Life changes moment by moment by moment. So just because there's suffering right now doesn't mean there will be suffering in the future. Just because there's pain today, just because there's joy today, doesn't mean it'll continue. I hope this is helpful. I found this perspective to be helpful for me.
Well, no, definitely. Like, even if you're doing everything right in life, you never know what's gonna happen outside of your life. For example, like what's going on in the world right now. Your world could be perfect, but things could change the very next day. Like World War III, for example. Things
Brother,
are possible, so you might as well just be
That's a
happy.
good point.
this is part of the paradox. Life, the will of life, the strength of a human, an individual, man or woman, there is something incredible there. But at the same time, life is so fragile. Oh my God, everything you care about today can be gone like that. These families with the earthquakes, with the floods, the families with the wars, families with bankruptcies, all sorts of shit happens. If we can remind ourselves each day that by the grace of God I am, right? So what might God want me to bring forth? This is what I ask myself. And for me, God is love. What might love want me to bring forth? I don't always succeed, but I do try. And I think if each of us do this together, I don't think we're good. If enough people start finding faith, finding trust in themselves, self-confidence by pushing beyond past boundaries, I think when people find within them greater strength and confidence in the truth that they know that, yes, there's this corruption, it's real. It's actually happening, guys, all around the world through our governments, through our corporations. And I know we don't own those, but we allow them. All of us collectively are allowing this oppression, censorship, corruption to continue, and I don't think we have to. I honestly think there's enough people who are seeing the truth and who are saying, hey, no, this is not right. I think there's enough of us, if we can just joined together temporarily, right? Temporarily enough to get a movement going and in the right direction, or in the same direction of reform. I trust the evidence is clear. The reform this world needs is for secrets and lies to end. Doesn't that make sense?
Yeah, makes sense to me.
It's the only thing that makes sense. Enemies happen because people choose to disagree rather than seeking peace and finding agreement. And enemies create these walls, defenses. Next thing you know, you're funding this global military industrial project. And then we don't even know if the world is even round. It's like, we're what in the hell has happened to humanity? This is insanity when you stop and think about it.
Well, it gets a lot more complicated when it's on that level because there's all kinds of things involved, like the military complex. They have to make their money. We haven't had a major war in a long time. They have to do that every once in a while.
That's true. Got to keep those jobs, man. Got to keep those people employed. It's all about creating jobs, isn't it? Right?
Well, and those government contracts are overinflated for the companies, so those companies are making more than they should. And then again, politicians are also making money by hooking those companies up. That's why there's lobbyists. Hey, if you do this for us, you pass this bill through, or you start a war, we'll hook you up.
I don't remember who I saw it from. I saw a recent YouTube video production on some of the recent legislation that's been happening. And it appears that Congress has basically opened up the purse strings for the war machine. It's like things get funded without much oversight or even knowledge. It's just here's a check. And in the meantime, this stuff is insanity. Hey, Jack, how far has the Veterans for Peace got? I know the organization itself has grown in their outreach, in their efforts. To be honest, I had a lack of understanding from the gentleman in my own chapter. I was thinking about them recently. But, there's like Veterans for Peace, there's Code Pink, there's World Beyond War. There's so many organizations that are active in the efforts of peace. They're not being listened to. In my opinion, I don't think they're being heard enough from the actual citizens or from the people in positions of power that it's time to end wars. Because honestly, even as a veteran, I did not understand how corrupt the military war machine was. I had no clue until I ended up discovering Veterans for Peace and understanding more about American history.
Oh yeah, and Chuck Tennessee just said that we just left a war. Oh, we really didn't because Ukraine and Russia is still going on. But that was our backstop. So our backstock's gone, which means production. You got to replace what you sent. And if there's going to be it's going to get worse and worse and worse, and more countries going to get involved, more fronts involved. You're not only going to need to build up your backstock, but your backstock, like whatever you make, is going straight out for the multiple front war that's coming. So that's the point. The backstock was already there. They just needed an excuse to get the war machine going again, production going again, which they haven't done in a while because we've been relying off our backstock.
I've heard that. Yes, it's this. The action in Ukraine has allowed a replenishment and cleaning out the supply, so it doesn't go stale. You don't want the
Yeah.
weapons to go stale.
They get too old,
Yeah,
not functioning anymore.
yeah. No, you got to get some. You got to get some murder and death out of those things. That's otherwise, it's just a waste of money.
Can't just let them sit there and catch dust, Jack.
Right.
Know what
And
I'm saying?
again, you got to think about the workers, right? You got to create jobs in America, so build those fucking weapons. What in the hell?
War is a racket. Have you ever heard that? One day of
Yeah.
war is more profitable than a 1 year of peace, right? And a lot of these events that's been, that's going on and that's been going on, they've been planned for a very long time. So, we come back and we kind of loop around these same ideas again about like, we gotta bring peace. We gotta bring, we have to stop this secrecy and stuff like this. But this world is very large. There are a lot of people, a lot of organizations that are involved. And I'm not trying to be negative and say, well, it's not going to happen. But there's got to be a starting point somewhere, right? But I think it's pretty grandiose to think that we're going to affect some kind of major change in the world. We have to start from where we are and find peace within ourselves and try to exemplify that, right? On one hand, and then try to walk along that path with others who are willing to go along that path. But I have no expectation that everybody's going to be on the same page. Not at all.
Yeah. Hey, Jack.
Why?
Jack, quick question. Knowing what we know right now, would it be best practice, right, for everybody here to invest in the war that we all know that's about to happen right now? Would that be would someone be wrong for investing in the military industrial complex at this moment in time?
I
Would you say it's better to hold on to your cash and your morals and say I'm not going to support this war, or to say, hey, I'm in a capitalistic society. Let me go invest in some bombs because that's what's going on right now in our industries.
I remember as a dumb, confused kid, even in the military, I was a capitalist. And I remember saying the words, we do need a good war to help our economy. How fucking stupid is that? As a soldier. Would I recommend people invest in the future of the war machines? Do as you wish, but that is a bet against me and my purpose, and I know I'm not alone in this purpose. That I believe this is our lifetime to create change. And I did not, until about 6 years ago, I did not believe peace was even an option. Let me say 5 years ago. Yeah, it was about 5 years ago, maybe just shortly a month or two before now. That was when I got convinced that peace was actually not only an option, but it's a damn right. It is absolutely illogical. There's no reason to support not having peace. There's none.
There's some people who don't want peace. They want war.
Should
Right?
they win? Should they be allowed? Because so far we've been not just allowing those people to win the belief systems, but we've allowed those people to be rewarded for it.
Okay, how are you going to change that? I mean, like they are being rewarded for manipulating and creating wars, right? And then you ask the question, should we allow? So who are we? And then what power do we have to enforce that, to circumvent it, to prevent it?
Well, the way I see it is we are a part of all that is. We were formed with a purpose to be here amongst all that is at this time. I spent over 40 years of my life convincing myself that I was pretty insignificant, that I wasn't able to accomplish much. Well, then I started learning about practices that change your mindset, change your perceptions on things, self-development. I discovered self-development at the same time my own personal life transformed. So since we're all a part of that which is, we each have our own path. We each have our own opportunities, our own challenges, but we become as insignificant or as significant as we choose and that which is allows. So that which is kind of wants most of us to be insignificant, just to be cogs in the wheel. You know, the greater powers that have been in the powers of government and wealth, they want everyone to be insignificant, just be cogs in the wheel. Good consumers, good producers, good obedient taxpayers. But I think the divine aspect of all of that which is here for us to grow, for us to learn, to overcome, to witness, and learn from the patterns of the past in order to adapt and overcome, to bring forth the new. So, Notch, I placed it within myself that, and I never envisioned doing this myself. I never, my goals of trying to negotiate and bring peace, this is not just a one-man adventure. I envisioned a community and a team, and I have ideas on how to communicate, how to bring together these organizations and with perhaps a real movement, exercising the rights that are readily available, right? There's a lot of bureaucracy, some hoops to jump through sometimes, but there's unnecessary separations between us as citizens and those who are legislating, those who are enforcing, those who are directing the governments. There's too much separation. I think we've allowed too much of that. So if people start exercising their rights, phone calls, visits to the offices, letters, politely, right? Of course, politely with the purpose of, hey, let's have some conversations about expectations. As American citizens, I don't know why we can't agree that peace is the way. So we at least got to try it.
Jack, in that sense, because I've heard it numerous of times, what is your definition of peace? Please.
It's the absence of conflicts. We could at least start with the absence of violence and then move into the absence of conflicts and absence of disagreements, and maybe even reach a point of harmony and uniting completely, where we all celebrate life together, working together to help improve the world for everyone. I think it's possible. It's all within our reach. It just requires the will and the belief.
The reason why I ask that, Jack, is because there is a teachings through a particular religion called Muslims. Peace be upon them. What does peace mean when they say that? Peace be upon them. Peace be upon Muhammad. I'll change the word. Silence. Silence be upon you, because then you have to get into the state of meditation, listening. It's not the opposite is not anything. It's not the opposite of conflict. It's like the opposite of love is not hate. It's a distraction. You have to have a direction. You got to go with the direction. Outside of that, you're going in another direction. That's all it is. So if a person gets into that state of calmness and silence, they might be able to go inwards and listen. Because what we do outside is we hear each other. We're not actually listening to each other. We're hearing each other. The word ear gives it away. But anyway.
Amen.
I believe that conflict is unavoidable, especially in this physical reality, especially in the times that we're living in now. How to deal with the conflicts that we um, that show up in our lives, and the metaversal conflicts that we are dealing with now is a very small, a version of like the the actual physical conflicts that's happening around the world. And as far as I see it, I think it's difficult already, and maybe I'm not doing a very good job of trying to bring people together. I mean, like, I'm at a point, maybe I'm a little bit cynical. I try not to be. I try to be positive, orientated, like, productive and progressive. But I do believe I'm a little bit cynical in the sense that I have seen people not having, a genuine intention of wanting to make improvements upon themselves, or having a clear line of communication with one another. And it happens often, I think, in the metaverse, where people actually just make claims about one another or whatever, or they just straight out lie about things, right? And nobody's the wiser. So to me, that does not show good faith in wanting to co-create something. And if we can't do it here, how can we really expect it to be able to do it in the physical reality, right?
What prevents it from happening here? Are you able to do it here?
I do my best, but I do run across people who, like I said, are not
But
really
here,
willing to hear
but
right
here,
now.
yeah. I mean, because here
Well,
right now is where we are, and this is where I'm trying to find people to join.
sure, yeah. So I like to talk about what's happening right here. Like I've mentioned this to you before, Jack, is that I do agree with your fundamental intention of wanting to, bring peace to the world, and I'm not entirely sure about like ending secrecy. I think these are very big
I know.
goals. They're very lofty goals. But again, I'm not entirely sure how you want to go about doing that. So,
I know.
I'm still not clear about that.
I know. And it's your doubt that's prevented you from actually thinking through success. And you're not alone. Many, many people. It's like it's like that expression I saw on a shirt. I can explain it to you, but you've got to understand for yourself. If you can envision the benefits of a world where keeping secrets is not rewarded, right? Where our corporations, the corporate and government systems pay human beings to lie as part of their job and to keep secrets. And then those secrets start wars, and it turns into a big mess where humans are fighting humans over orders, over a paycheck, maybe
I think
revenge.
I think where the issue may be is that maybe your view of what you think this world is, and how you envision, things operate, may differ from the way I think the world is operating. Because in the
But that,
way that I think, what's that?
well, that would only matter if, how would that matter if, do you disagree with how I describe the world? Is that where it comes from?
Well, I think that's where maybe the disconnect is, because the way I see it, as far as I see it, that there is profit with these corporations in form of manipulation and compartmentalization, and they do make a lot of profit of creating wars, making weapons, right, and pitting one group of people against another group of people, right. And so, in order for us to really get to a point where there's like global world peace, quote unquote, everybody needs to be like up to date, and up to a level of understanding of all the things that affect their daily lives. And as far as I see it, not that people are not capable of being able to understand it, but it's kind of difficult because, like, part of their agenda is to keep people there, to keep people like at a lower level of consciousness where they're distracted and they're not really allowed to be educated about what's happening, because then that would be playing against them. That would be not to their advantage to allow those things to happen. So there are multiple factors involved.
I think you're overcomplicating it and offering me. I mean, what understanding should I receive from that, from what you just said?
Do you think I am overcomplicating, because it's actually much simpler than that, or am I trying to, or am I confused myself? Like, what do you mean by that?
Thank you for asking. And I'm sorry, I don't know how to clearly express what I'm seeing. Okay. It's the patterns of resistance that is normal within us. I call it the ego. I've also described it as the Antichrist. The patterns of it's not intentional. It's just a part of our behavior that this society has ingrained in us. It distracts and it offers confusion, and it's that which resists what is true. Now,
do you think I'm being resistant, or I have an overinflated ego?
No, not overinflated. You're a very balanced and grounded man from my experience, but also from my experience, I've met many people who've done a lot of inner work, obviously based on their stories and the way they present. Beautiful examples of people. You're one of them. I also know the work I've done on myself. I know the resistance that I hear, and I'm encouraging people to push beyond their resistance into acceptance, because, well, there's something magical about the opportunities of every single day. And there's something special that's brought us forth. I believe there is a reason I have the goals and beliefs that I do. I've challenged my beliefs, I assure you. Hey, part of this, where'd it go? There was a question here, and this is kind of in line with this. And Snafu, I see you in the back. Based upon your disrespect of me publicly and, your lack of authenticity to me, with me, I have no desire for you on the platform. So you can sit backstage or leave, unless you're willing to present that you're really, backstepping from the direction you went today. So, from New Guru, the challenge with your idea I see is trying to convince criminal-minded sadists to stop being criminal-minded sadists. I agree with you. It is a challenge. Do you have a viable idea to accomplish that? The idea I have is in line with scripture. It is in line with faith. It is where two or more come together. Where two or more are gathered, there is God. Well, in my experience and my explanations, I offer the perception that God may be known to us through the truth that is within us and around us, but the truth and with love. So if two or more come together from the energies of love to discuss the truth, I believe we can confront some of those in positions of influence and power, quote unquote, to have a different perspective on that which is. And that which is in this world right now, if I was speaking to you guys, if you were employed in Congress and you'd been going along with your job, working for the lobbyists and planning your next re-election campaign. So if I was to talk to you guys, I would speak to you as brothers and sisters, fellow citizens of this land here in America, but with the reminder of the duty, the public service obligation that comes with that. And we could discuss some aspects of leadership which seem to have been overlooked, right? A good leader is one who serves. Who are these people serving?
Demons,
guys,
Satan.
well, amen. And so please, when we interact with each other, try to keep in mind, who am I serving? Am I serving myself? Am I serving them?
The truth.
The truth is to be honored. Amen.
Truth is difficult for people because there's a harsh truth out there that a lot of people would rather, just kind of ignore, right? They just want to keep their head in the ground, right? And just think that everything's, up and up and at a status quo, and they don't really want to accept things for what they are. And in my mind, you have to start from what it is if you want to really enact any kind of change. Otherwise, you're going to go on a wild turkey chase on a endless loop over and over and over, because you have never come to the core of the issue. The core of the issue is that whole of the civilization has been corrupted to the point that it is more or less malignant. You need to take the cancer out, but the problem of taking the cancer out is you might actually kill the patient by doing that, right?
Under
So a lot of
methods, yeah, but there's other methods that are being resurfaced, methods from the past, spiritual methods, right? There's methods of healing, and the healing power of truth. I agree with what you're saying and with what Sarah's saying here, that God wants us to balance faith and belief in truth with logic and understanding of reality. So many people go through their lives, especially once they meet this age of independence, 18-ish or whatever, where they break free of the family tit. And then they call themselves adults, and adults think they know everything. They think they've learned enough. They know what is real. Many people think government is real. Many people think, you know what? Many people think all sorts of things are real. So that brings us into the question, the realm of thought again. There's a distinction between that which is real and that which we think is real. And it's up to us to make sure there's a balance between the two. I found what is freeing is if I focus on now. Okay? Because right now, from where I'm at, the connections I remember, the experiences I remember, well, from the things I've learned, this world is transforming. Okay? It's getting more oppressive, more violent, more chaotic, but at the same time, there's a lot more hope and faith rising up as well. I'd like to be part of the group that's with the light and the faith, those who are bringing forth solutions. That is my goal. I'm trying to find the way to do that.
I think that's going to happen, in my opinion, by itself. Like if you yourself, have that faith, right, and have that hope, right, and then you exhibit it, right, you exemplify it. I think people will see it for what it is, right? And as far as I see it, like people do have doubts. A lot of people do, but in this day and age, especially on the internet, there are a lot of people who live, a life of desperation, a quiet desperation, right? Where they show that they're much happier, more successful than they actually are, right? And because we live in this kind of like a electronic world where everybody is like, well, look, like who's the wiser, right? I can present myself in any which way I want to.
I think I got what you're saying. People have been misrepresenting what is true for a long time. Maybe that's not where you were at, but
Yeah.
hey, on this, many people think they live in a different reality. Okay. And this is where the human ego, the limiting consciousness, comes in. Our personalities create these divisions. I just have to worry about me, or I just have to worry about us and stay away from them. And we got all these different people living in different realities. And with all this confusion, it spreads fear. The fear turns into hate and anger. And then, we're living this life where we call ourselves civilized, but it's nothing but a bunch of fucking battling tribes and cliques. It's no, not everyone is living in reality. And here, a perfect example of this is my own life. Currently, I'm here daily, whether I succeed or fail. My intention each day is to offer perspectives on faith, concepts on God and love and peace. And while I live in this reality with many critics and whatever supporters, there's other people in my hometown. Matter of fact, my son, my ex-wife, people who used to know me, have me in their life. They want to believe that I am dangerous to myself and others. I claim that their reality is wrong. Oh, swear to God, hey, peace be upon us. There's Margot Davy, one of those who insists I'm wrong about myself. How would we succeed at this where others have failed so many times before? Nude Guru, I appreciate your even allowing the skepticism with the questions. I have faith in God, not in myself. Okay, I think that this might be possible. And I believe that if an opportunity can be created, and you know what? It doesn't have to be me either. I'm just inspired to share these ideas of a world without secrets. I trust that is the way to overcome the banking cartel and the mobster governments, is when we're not all participating in the bankers' lies, we'll be free of slavery. But how could this succeed? Because I actually believe that this is the time that had been prophesized. I believe God is with us. I believe the explanations are available not just from me, but from many people alive right now. God has brought forth many messengers, many different perspectives are coming forth today in this age of information and technology we're sharing. And so why I think it's possible? I'm confident God is with us.
Do you think God supports the demons and the devil? Do you believe in demons and devil? Like, do you believe in the negative entities in the first place? And do you believe that there is such thing as good and bad, and good action and bad action, et cetera, right? Yes. We could go beyond that. Okay. So, like God, I agree with you. God exists. Okay. But there is no actual battle in my mind that is happening between God and demons, because God is all powerful. It doesn't logically make sense to me that God is in any way in any kind of a tussle. So in my personal perspective, what I believe is that God is allowing demons and the devil to run amok, right? Mm-hmm. They're allowed to do what they're doing. Okay. So we have established that they exist. There are bad things that are happening, and the world is in turmoil because bad people are doing bad stuff, right? Yeah. But at the same time, if God wanted to snap his fingers and just be like, okay, be done with it, I think it can all go away. Yet, God is allowing it to happen. The question is, to me, is why is God allowing things to happen? Is there something to be gleaned from this experience?
All right.
what's the point of it all?
Yep. What do you think?
I mean,
I
I
have
can
my
help
own
with that. I mean, we all have free will on this earth, so people will shine when they're put in hard situations, and it shows who they really are, what they do in hard times. I mean, people always think that. I mean, why does God allow this? Why does if God was in control of this? Like, why does it let it happen? It's because we all have free will, and He wants to see what people do. I mean, that's my opinion.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, like, you don't really know yourself and who you really are until you're placed in a certain circumstance. And people can imagine about, I'm going to do this, because we have a lot of, rambles here on the internet, and and people are like, well, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. But unless you are actually in a situation, you really don't know what you're going to be doing. Whether you're given $1 million or, a position of power, or I don't know, whatever the desires that you might have, or put you in a position of desperation or pain and suffering. You don't really get to know yourself until you're going through those kind of experiences, in my mind. And so, all that is happening is kind of an unfoldment of things that has been kind of planned a long time ago in my mind. And we're just kind of along for the ride. And in my personal perspective, that I can only really try to control my own fears, right? My own attitudes about what I think is going on in my own mind, trying to control my desires and thoughts, et cetera, et cetera. But I don't really think that I have a whole lot of power to be able to control others, and I'm not sure if I'm not speaking for anybody else, but I'm not here to control other people myself. I'm just here to be, having my own experiences and have these conversations and just trying to explore, where we are at and what is real and not real, based on what makes sense to me.
Why do you want to know? I mean, if you're already comfortable and at peace with, you just live your
What do I want to know?
Why are you? Well, when I'm constantly trying to learn things, and when I spend my time trying to understand things, there's usually a reason. And part of this in my life, the thing I've developed a long time ago, is what do I do with what I've learned? What is the reason I've learned it? As I started turning more towards faith, that has been a real question I've asked, is God. Because not everyone gets to learn what I've learned, and I don't get to learn what everyone else has learned. But I know the power of what I've learned. I know how transformative the power of truth is. And I know the testimonies of all those who share the same ideas as me. We live in this world. The question of why is there suffering? Hey, why was I confused? Meaning my years of addiction and drinking. Why was I confused? I don't know. Why do demons exist? I don't know. Why am I here? I don't know. Okay, but I know I have freedom of choice. I know that there have been many wonderful, inspiring examples of human being that God has created and the universe allowed for these people to be formed to pass on their knowledge, their inspirations. I started to wonder, what more could I be? And I'd already played the role of a bunch of things: soldier, alcoholic, dad, union guy, postal guy, whatever.
But there are things that you have come to know, Jack, through your experiences, that, when you speak about your own experience as being an alcoholic as an example, but you have overcome that, right? During that time when you were an alcoholic, right, you did what you did, right? and maybe at some points, you felt like, well, I want to quit this, but you didn't have any control. But now you're at a point where you are in control, where alcohol is not influencing you the same way that it did in the past when you were an alcoholic, right? So you have some control. You have some control that it's a kind of mastery that you have now that you didn't have before, right? And all those things came about because you knew something about yourself. It couldn't have come without knowing anything.
Right. People do what they want. What they want is typically limited by their choices. Their choices are limited by their thoughts and experience. But everyone does what they want. What you said, though, is that ability to control. And here's a theory I have. There's a lot of things that support this theory, but I have a theory that the way our bodies and minds are designed, that's a cute pup, man. When we lie, we give away our self-control. And the lies I had been telling myself were about my lack of worthiness. I was lying to myself, trying to convince myself I wasn't worthy of blah, 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 whatever. And then my drinking habit helped me prove that. So, what I know, though, is you mentioned, yes, there's demons. God allows. God's the creator and allows. And it's all within an order. It's all within patterns of rhythm and exchange. I believe that evil exists so that the light has the opportunity to experience overcoming the darkness. I believe there's been a lot of darkness that's come forth over the years in this phenomenal plane that we're sharing, so that we might be able to truly experience change in the world, bringing peace and hope, prosperity, bringing blessings to one another. I think that's why we're here. I just don't know how people are so picky and choosy about what they accept and reject.
Yeah, I mean, I think that at least from my perspective, like, I'm here to change again myself and try to master, have some mastery, right? Like in Vipassana, they say, like, controlling other people is power, but controlling yourself, it's like that's divine, right? And a lot of people lack self-control. And I am not. I'm still a human being in many ways. I mean, like, I've come a long ways. I been involved in many different type of sins, you can say, but I'm still working on myself. But like, to strive for perfection, it's very difficult, and I think one of the things that I struggle with is that I would like to be able to communicate with people and get people to at least have some understanding about where I'm coming from and why I think and feel the way I do. But at the same time, I want to try to understand why people think the way they do and feel the way they do. And, like, these experiences that we have, right? Like, they are important because, they help you to relate to other people, like you being an alcoholic in the past helped you to be able to relate, and other people who are going through the same struggle are able to relate to you in that manner.
I honestly, to help ease my own suffering, perhaps, to keep myself from going nuts. It's what I convinced myself. It's easier for us to accept things that happen in our life when we can find a logical conclusion, right? You can find a logic and reasoning even if it's an uncomfortable explanation or an explanation you don't like. If you can explain it, you can accept it and understand it. And maybe there's a different order there. You got to accept it in order to understand it, in order to explain it. But sorry, I was responding to what you said. Now I've forgotten. Notch.
It's okay. It's fine. I think it's there's a lot to be thinking about, like the chats and the conversation and and all that kind of stuff. So it's easy to get lost in the sauce of things. I'm just here to ask questions usually, and you're very at least you give me the opportunity to be able to express my ideas like completely. So I do appreciate that. Even though we may not entirely agree about everything, I think it's hard to agree. But after a while, I think things do rub off on each other. Like I do think, over time that people just start to be on the similar page. It's like that 100 monkey syndrome type of thing. A few people start thinking about it, and then everybody kind of catches on. They don't really know how they have arrived to those conclusions, but they might, and maybe with that, maybe other people can be affected. I just don't think that everybody in this world will be on the same page, and nor do I have any kind of inclination that that's going to be a possibility. I'm not taking that off the table completely, but again, we work with what we got, and whoever is going to, you just have to work with what you got.
Brother, that's actually a humbling truth. You got to work with what you got. And I was thinking about that earlier. Well, I stand here. Let me address this if I may, though. Life should be treated like a verb. It is an action. Life is so many things for us. It is a verb, an action, an opportunity. Life is a force. Life is a responsibility, maybe. Because every opportunity does come with some accountability, some sort of duty and responsibility. We have the right to life. Dang, I totally took us off track again. But thank you for your understanding. What I think we're here to do is to grow into the best, greatest expression of life that we want. And we can set our goals as high as we want or as low as we want. And really, there's no one to judge but ourselves. The thought on equality, I mentioned I stand for equality. I recognize every experience is different. We each have different opportunities to learn, different opportunities for mentorship, different opportunities for support. Each of us at different stages of our lives. But I know that we can work together to help each other find more opportunities for each other. That's what is really the most important thing here. Oh, the same page, Nachi. Getting everyone on the same page. I think it will just require an acceptance. People just got to accept the truth. We are all one time in history. There is no separation from us, from you and me and MTAL forever. There's no separation between us right now, the viewers, the people in Ukraine, the people in Palestine, Yemen, Sudan, Bolivia. There's no separation from any of us.
Yep, we're all stuck on this planet together.
This can be a prison, and I felt that way. I spent most of my life feeling like this was a prison sentence, that I couldn't escape life. And I tried. I tried escaping my life through drinking, distractions, a lot of sinful behavior, and it was miserable. At some
I think
point,
all those things exist together, like prisons, hell, heaven. I mean, there are people who are living in abundance and living a very decent life, and they're very pious and humble, and they're very close to God. And there are other people who have a lot of things, a lot of money, but they're not really living a very righteous life. They're living in turmoil. So all those things kind of coexist here, as far as I see it. And again, getting people on the same page, like I said, it's like it's a very big goal, and only thing, not a thing, but like only being that is on the same page about anything is God. God is the one common denominator to all things. Even the devil will have a percentage of God in him. Even even the angels will have a percentage of something negative inside of them. Nothing that seems to exist here uh, you know, it's like 100% good or 100% bad in my mind. And like, I guess my main goal to be discussing about these issues with, any of these panels is just to bring clarity to myself. And if I can bring some kind of a perspective about what I think is happening, hopefully with enough of that will eventually get us on the same page. And when people see, for example, like, we all have to see the same object in order to be able to move the object together. We see that, oh yes, that object exists. You see it, I see it, we can both feel it, that both of us understand that that object exists. And now we have the strength to be able to push it, because by myself maybe I was not able to move that object, but I have to convince other people that that object exists. But a lot of people, it's like an elephant in the room. I have to mention that there is an elephant in the room. But if people don't see the elephant in the room, I cannot, work with that elephant in the room by myself, kind of deal.
the ego imagines many limitations, whether they are real or not. And I don't have disagreements with you. I just don't understand. Well, yeah, I have no disagreements with you, but I would challenge you, brother. You mentioned a couple of times, maybe, I don't want to paraphrase, misquote, but said something about not striving for perfection, or striving for perfection is hard, and then something about good and bad. Well, that's the path of ascension, is rising out of duality, raising the consciousness beyond the separations into the wholeness, the acceptance, and the unity with that which is. Perfection is in the eye of the beholder, so it's said. And so I spent some time wondering about that. Is perfect flawless? Perhaps, yeah. Flawless. Perfect is true. But even flawless, it requires the light in the dark. The light in the dark, through balance and perspective, it brings the shadows, brings the distinctions. And the distinctions between the light and the dark, the good and the bad, brings forth the perfection. So perfection is just whole, it's complete. And so if I've been practicing this in my mind, I mean, it logically follows logic and reasoning so that it feels right within. This moment of right now where we live, all of us, right now, we're the perfect revelation from the past. There's an order that has been followed in all sorts of different ways: energetic, spiritual, physical. All these different patterns of the past have brought us forth perfectly into today. Now, a lot of people are carrying around with them memories and unease and fears and regrets and all of this emotional energy and disturbance within them. And then we've got these characters pretending to be authority and whatever, playing wars, gambling with people's lives, gambling with people's futures on the New York Stock Exchange. We got all sorts of people gambling, and it's all for our safety and welfare and protection, right? Bunch of nonsense.
There's a couple way to, look at that situation in my mind. Like, on one hand, yes, I agree with you that everything is perfect just the way it is. I mean, yeah, we have arrived at this point, and it is at that point. But when I speak about like striving towards perfection, I'm talking about something very lofty, something godly, something divine, et cetera, et cetera. And then, it's the recognition that I am not that which that I would like myself to be. There are many standards of people who have exemplified, who have lived their lives in a way that is way beyond, you know, um, I can perceive as like my ability to be there. Like it would require a tremendous amount of work to get there. Even though, yes, I'm on the path to do that. Maybe someday I will arrive, but at this point, it's like climbing Mount Everest type of deal. Now, as far as like trauma, fears, and all those things are concerned, I think it's like it's not that people want to carry these things with them. It's not that people want to carry the fears or the traumas with them. It gets imbued into our body, into our muscles. It stays in our mind, and like I am never gonna, like, at least to me, I'm never going to pretend like, oh, I never have any fears. It's like, to me, putting like a wool over my eyes kind of deal. I would rather see the fears that I do have and work with it, right? Knowing that I might not have overcome that, but it's better that I know that they're there and still within, myself, because that's reality, and instead of trying to distract myself and say, yes, no, I live without any kind of fear at all. That would not be true to me. Maybe that's true to you, and that'll be great. I'm not claiming that anybody here is living with fear or without fear. That's not up to me to decide. I know myself where I'm at.
Okay.
But like another aspect of that is, to me, is that when I see people and they are dependent on things, anything like alcohol, cigarettes, marijuana, these type of things, I would have to conclude that they are dependent on it, and any kind of dependency does interconnect with fear in my mind.
Correct.
Because
All
without
work.
it, like, yeah, what happens? Because it's dependency, right? Like, if you're an alcoholic and then you fear not having enough alcohol, not being able to, it's like any kind of drugs, but like it can be at a more intense degree or like a less intense of a degree, but it's still a dependency of kind.
Well, those people, I could speak from experience. Like, I went to rehab for 6 months in Utah, 3 states away, for 6 months when I was 14. And it helped me. Like, I would be too messed up to think about all the stuff that was always going on in my mind as a kid. Like, I had a rough childhood. And it is kind of not just numbed those bad feelings, but made you not think about them. And like most people, they have underlying problems, which is why they rely on that stuff. So they don't think about it and don't feel anything from it. And that's why it's an addiction. Until those people fix those problems, they rely on it. And that's what I had to go through. Thank God, when I was like, by the time I was like 18, 19, I finally figured out myself and what I needed to do. And as soon as I fixed my life and the underlying problems, I had no longer an urge to rely on, well, I never did anything hard, but especially alcohol. Weed wasn't so much a problem. But yeah, like the harder stuff like alcohol and ecstasy and blow, but never did anything crazy like meth or heroin. But yeah, it wasn't the drug problem, it was underlying problems that I had to figure out.
Patterns of behavior come from patterns of thought. And what you were saying about the fear and the dependence. Yep. People become afraid of giving up their fears. People become addicted to the feeling of unease, of anger, of anxiety, of lack. People normalize a lot of dysfunction. And in a dysfunctional society, people unwillingly or unknowingly enable dysfunction. It happens daily, broadcast live, supported financially. It happens daily on these YouTube streams and in our main media. Bunch of enabling of nonsense.
People are
This-
attached to their miseries, you
Yep.
know, and they're very much identified with it. And you know, there's a kind of a culture of victimhood that is quite
Yes.
rampant.
They're attached to the drama, to the Maya, to the delusions of the world. And that's what we're here to overcome. All of the religions, I don't know intimately the Quran, but I've read enough of the literature to understand the spiritual essence. These religions are teaching us to break away from the worldly corruption. Well, no, they don't. The relationship with the divine, I believe. Okay, the Bible talks about with the Christ. You go through the first death, you surrender the baptism, the renewal. You allow the worldly ways to go away, and guess what the worldly ways are? Our fears, our lacks, our limitations. And we learn of fears and lack and limitations in the past, and then we bring these forward into today, and we don't have to. Every day we can be renewed, reborn. As it said, every 7 years we are physically supposedly restructured, renewed. So this comment, the ego and heart tug of war, the mind and your heart, your thoughts and your emotions. A dual-minded man becomes unstable in all ways. You start separating your thoughts and emotions, denying one or the two, and ignoring one to be overcome by the other. It's literal delusion. Brothers and sisters, the way of the Christ, the peaceful being, that loving presence, it's here, and it's found through the surrender, the silence. It can be an immediate effect through that choice, overcoming addiction. A lot of people that really kick it, it comes from that point of, nope, line in the sand. I ain't doing it no more. And then you push through the uncomfortable part, and then you find the bliss and the release on the other side of that. And I think that's what life has done in this greater collective too. Brothers and sisters, it makes sense. According to the stories and the patterns of history, it makes sense that we've reached this point in our evolution. I really believe it's time that humanity finds better ways to get along with each other. I think we can find ways to actually honor agreements with each other and share support, resources, education with each other without the rule and requirement of governments and the finance system.
You have to be as wise as serpents and as innocent as doves. So this requires in my mind, it requires having an understanding of how humanity has operated throughout history, and all the different types of manipulation and deception that they've utilized to take advantage of one another. And if one is naive to these type of things, then I think we are only duping ourselves, and we will repeat the process. So we have to become, like trust, in my mind, is coming from all the different variations of what humans are capable of, and then coming to kind of like a negotiation table, because if you have nothing to bring to the table, right, at the end of the day, like everybody should benefit. That's the best outcome. But the second best outcome is that if the other individual can benefit based, like on my loss, and they can get away with it, then they will continue to do so, right? But that can only be achieved if I'm ignorant to what's going on.
Or if it's outright oppression and it's enabled. And
well, again, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, I think that's where we're at. You're absolutely right. More to the point of where you were at. Wise as serpents, gentle as a dove, right? I actually think that's what's been emerging here in some of these personality dynamics. I've said a long time ago that I believe where we're at right now, the enemies of today, I believe the facts support the enemy is the structures of governments and corporations. So if we know our enemy, if you're wise as a serpent and know the enemy that you're dealing with, well, I've met characters like Paul and Wizard and these guys who've spent a lot of time learning the ins and outs of the corruption. I'm offering the gentle approach that we bring these facts into the greater awareness, right? I'd like to somehow have these discussions with big platforms. Why can we not change the laws? What is the purpose of maintaining secrets and divisions between the states and the governments? I'm open to reason, but logically, I can't really see any justification for wars and enemies like has been enabled and brought forth.
And that's where I see part of the problem in my mind, because we're dealing with psychopaths and people who are Machiavellian in their approach to humanity. So they will on one hand show you a different side of themselves and say, oh yes, you're right, Jack, we should end wars and have open secrets, but behind the back, while you are operating, working towards peace, they're going to be creating false flags.
Hey, Notch.
Yeah, go ahead.
This is your imagination, not experience, and I understand your doubt, but I'm not willing to accept your doubt because, yes, I know there's lip service, but you're right. These people of wealth and abundance and power,
in order for you to
have power because it's enabled.
See, in order for you to tell me that I'm imagining something, is that you are very grounded in reality, which I don't believe that you are. I'm sorry to say.
Come back into this moment, okay? In this moment, in this dialogue, what you were just talking about was some imagined scenario where, I do have a conversation and you were presenting this imagined argument, Notch. I mean, did I offend you by pointing that out?
No, not at all. I'm not offended. I'm just telling you what I think.
So instead of accepting that what you were narrating was something you just imagined, a hypothetical argument and disagreement, rather than accept that I described you accurately as taking us off in your imagination, you want to then project that, well, you're not grounded in reality, Jack. So
no, I think that you are not grounded in reality, and why I have a rebuttal.
Yeah.
Why I have a rebuttal to it is because, again, you go into this kind of a loop, I would say, about you cannot see what the benefit is of keeping secrets, right? You cannot see where the benefit is of like people wanting to go to war. And I would
so do you disagree with that? I mean, you presented
no,
no argument against me.
no, I agree with you. That's what I
Okay,
want.
so then how am I not grounded in reality then?
Well, you're in my opinion that you're not grounded in reality is in a sense that you don't know the people whom you're dealing against or
Do
dealing
you?
with.
Do you?
I have some idea. Yeah, I have
Okay.
some idea
You have some idea where in your
based on
imagination.
my research, based
Hey,
on what I've read.
not. Yep. Here's where I'm at. Okay. I trust your intentions are good. You're honest. You're here to learn, to understand, to offer your perspectives. Well, I'm not here opening the panel for arguments and for people to tell me I'm not in reality when I know perfectly well what I'm saying. So I've been debating how to deal with these platforms. Okay. Who do I have here to join me? Should I do it without people?
That's up to you. I mean, that's a different conversation from what we're talking about.
You're absolutely right. So here, you had your purpose, and not my purpose is to share ideas that what I'm offering can work. Okay. Now, if people want to, flush out some ideas so they have a better understanding, that's one thing. But if you want to consistently come on this panel and try to get me to agree that what I've been inspired and learned is inaccurate, I mean, without any foundation, you're just offering disagreements. So if you can't support my goal, please see your way off the panel. Okay.
Not a problem. I will definitely say goodbye, and then I will not come back here because I'm just telling you the truth as I see it, and the way you have basically gave me an ultimatum, Jack. You don't value my opinions, and no problem. I don't have to agree with you, and nor do I do.
Okay.
So see you later.
God bless. Thank you, brother. No ill feelings. And it's not that I don't appreciate opinions, but opinions without any relevance. I do respect my time. I respect the time of the viewers. And Notch, you bring forth great conversations. And I don't mean to be uncomfortable. And MGTOW, you just showed up yesterday, and here I am being a dick again.
Oh, no, I've been in chat for the last 4 days, just lurking. Well, not lurking, but just in chat. Between you and Paul, mainly you, because I get a headache after being in pause for 10 minutes. But not just questions. I felt like even I was getting confused because the questions were so long instead of like straight to the point. It kind of lost track of what his question was because they were too long. So in my own head, I tried to make a long story short and try to simplify the question, what it basically was asking. And then you can't give like a straight answer because you forget what you wanted to say to answer his question because the question was so long. He did have good questions though. It just he could have shortened it so it was more understandable.
And maybe that was my absence of understanding.
I was having trouble too. I was keeping track, but I had to pay attention and to listen to every word he was saying so I can understand what his question was when it could have been a short question. But yeah, every question was dude, just make your point, make your question. You don't have to explain the question and go in depth with it. Just ask a question.
Brother, yes. I want to thank you again, and I will, please, you're welcome back. All are welcome. I do just ask that we kind of, I don't know. I don't know what to say.
Me neither. I don't know why people give you so much crap.
Thank you. Thank you. Enough said.
You're the most peaceful guy around. Every time at your stream, there's no screaming, yelling, people blocking each other's, kicking people out, over there. There's never been chaos here, except the people that come here from there. This has been the most peaceful channel I've seen in a long time. I don't see a problem with you or the people here. I love the people in chat too.
Respect, brother. You're welcome here too. And what you said though, it would certainly depend on who you ask.
No,
I've
I know.
been-
Obviously, yeah. No, I've seen it in chat many times how people feel about each other.
I was about to shut her down though, Flo.
Okay. Well, I have not been paying attention. I don't know what's going on. I saw you were on the last person, so I figured it was probably wrap up time. But Moose was encouraging me to get up here, and it's easy to encourage me to do the things I wanted to do anyways. So,
Hey, respect. I would, but
no,
not
do what
today.
you want. I heard you were being an asshole, so
Yep, it's been my pattern. I'm trying to break that, so I'm going to shut it down to avoid.
you could embrace it.
I don't want to embrace it because I said this earlier. Well, I received from off panel, I was presented today how ungodlike I present myself.
Was
And-
that snaps?
No.
Uh,
Then it mirrored what was said by a couple of people on the panel yesterday, that I'm doing a poor job of presenting myself as a man of faith and with strength. So I'm working to improve that. I did visit that asshat pimp channel earlier today, and that was a mistake. Showed up in peace, and he wants to just go on and on insulting and mocking me, but
I visited too at the end, and it went fine for me. But snap. I don't know if you heard. I've become a pogo recently. I recently graduated to becoming a pogo.
good for you. Congrats.
Thank you. And with how much I live in Snafu's head rent free, like I got a whole penthouse up there, and that. I mean, it's Snafu's head, so it's not a very big penthouse, but it's the penthouse. But, I should have blocked him a long time ago because he can't stop talking about me, making videos about me. Like, I recommend you do it as well if you want some free promotion.
He tried to join the panel today, and I told him no. He wouldn't. He wasn't coming up. But maybe he'll be a target. I don't know.
All right.
Hey,
well,
let me.
I won't.
Yeah, let me give my final words.
All right. Later.
Respect, brother. You doing anything later?
Not tonight. I'm wiped out from last night.
Respect. Thank you, brother.
All right, yeah. Good night, Jack.
Respect. Thank you, my friend. You too. I wanted to see this. Open to your ideas to whoever think you have much to offer value-wise and be much fruitful without. Thank you. Nude Guru, thank you very much. There was a couple other comments I tried to note of. I've sensed this as well, that it is not just me that's frustrated. I don't know what direction to go. I mean, I'm welcome. I'm open to, constructive feedback, some suggestions with, maybe some thought as far as what you see and maybe what to do. What my goal is, brothers and sisters, my goal for me is to do as I say. I am a man. My faith in God is strong. I highly encourage people spend some time with the red letters of the Bible, the words from the Christ, or your own spiritual gurus. Seek out inspiration. Seek out philosophies on the divine. Seek out scriptures and thoughts others have shared on love. Because seriously, God and love and truth and life and good. I don't know that there's a separation. God is the light, the life that comes forth, brings forth, allows forth for us to be, to know, to feel, to remember, to sense. And we are the awareness. We have this gift of consciousness that allows us to move beyond space, move beyond time, forwards, backwards. within the space, out of space. We have the ability of consciousness. We have the energies of compassion, of love. You bring intelligence and love together, and what have you got? You've got the strength, you've got bliss, you've got perhaps novelty, perhaps surprise, perhaps a better world. The lesson I hope to share, the message I hope to share is much love, right? That which is. That which is. Go outside, stretch your arms out and see that which is for you. And it can be intimidating to recognize the enormity of that which is, the eternal presence of that which is. And it's all here now for you and for me. And maybe God, by God's grace, by God's blessings, maybe the sun shall rise for us again tomorrow. I think that is the word of the gospel, right? The sun has risen, the good news, the time has come. Our Lord, our God, the love, the Savior, we hope. It is here. It's within. It's waiting to be sought, to be known, to come forth. Brothers and sisters, thank you again. This is a life in progress. What I'm sharing here, what you are sharing with you, we are the future. We are together. Brothers and sisters, till next time, please choose love, peace for everyone, and live without fear. God bless and thank you.